What's up, everybody? It is day 6 of Vlog Every Day in April, and today I want to tell you a story. But first I gotta find my phone. See my phone? Oh, there it is. So the reason I wanted to find my phone was because I wanted to talk to you about what I'm preaching about tomorrow in church, and it has a lot to do with my trip to Athens. Back in 2014, I took a trip to Athens, Greece with Youth Ministry International, and I took my oldest son, Nathan, with me, and I wanted to show you a little bit of that video. You could check out the whole video. I don't know if it's over here, but you could check out the whole video on my YouTube channel, but check out this little clip right now. That was an extremely fun trip, and I'm talking tomorrow about Athens and how Paul spoke to the Athenians from Mars Hill in Acts chapter 17. And one of my favorite parts of the entire trip that we took was walking through Athens and specifically climbing up Mars Hill with Nathan and talking about that specific incident in the history of Athens. And I wanted to share with you today a little bit about the story of the unknown God. And the unknown God story takes place in BC 600. So 600 years before Christ. About that time, there was this plague going through Athens, and people were dying all over the place. And they couldn't figure out why in the world this plague was happening. And so they thought that perhaps it had something to do with upsetting one of their many gods. Now in Athens, there were gods galore. Actually, somebody said that there were more gods in Athens than people. So there were all these little deities. There were their big gods that they would, worship. And if you know anything about ancient Greek mythology, you know that it's complicated and there's a lot of gods. And so in Athens, they were having this plague and they were trying to figure out which god was the one that was upset, and they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure out which god was upset and why people were dying. And so what they did is they called in this guy, and his name was Epimenides. It's hard to pronounce his name. Epimenides. And he was from Crete. And so Epimenides came from Crete, and he was looking around and he was trying to figure out which god it was that was upset with the people of Athens. And whenever the people of Athens and Epimenides were trying to figure it out, he came up with this conclusion that it had to have been some god that perhaps they missed, that was the god that was not appeased. And so he had this brilliant idea. And so what he said was, let's take these sheep and let's basically not give them any food until they're extremely hungry, and then let's let them out. And so they let them out at this place called Mars Hill, which is a very succulent place, a very great place to graze your sheep. And so if any of the sheep were tired more than hungry and laid down instead of ate, then they would do something. It's kind of funny. I have been more tired than hungry. I've had that debate before. So these sheep had that debate of, am I more tired than hungry? And the ones that were more tired were the ones that Epimenides said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, where each of these sheep have laid down, we are going to create and build an altar to an unknown God. So these sheep must be the sacrifice to the unknown God. So what they did is they took all of the sheep that were laying down instead of grazing, they took them, they built an altar where they laid down, and they sacrificed that sheep on that altar to the unknown God. Now the story goes that as soon as they did that, the people with the plague started getting better, and they appeased the unknown God. Now remember, this story took place 600 years before Christ, and so God was setting Paul up to be able to preach about Jesus 600 years before he even stepped foot in Athens. And this brings me to the entire reason of this video. There are things happening around us in people's lives that are setting them up to hear the gospel. I don't know what's happening in your life. Maybe there's something that is setting you up to hear the gospel. And so as a Jesus follower, somebody who knows this God who can help you through whatever you're going through, I need to be on the lookout to be able to say, hey, I know the answer to your thing that you're going through. And we as Christ followers need to be on the lookout, looking around our culture and saying, I know the answer. Because Paul in Acts 17 says, hey, this unknown God that you guys are worshiping, I am here to proclaim him to you. So Jesus is the God that you need to be worshiping. And that's what Paul was preaching. And as he was looking around the culture, he understood how to use the culture in order to reach the gospel, reach the culture and connect people with the gospel. And so as we are wandering about, looking around in our culture, what are those things that we can use to connect people to the gospel? That's the question. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like, subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow on day 7.